Hello and welcome to a quick rundown on Darmac on all difficulties, I guess including LFR, but really normal through Mythic. The kill is of course recorded on Mythic. Now, for this, there's only two main abilities that he has at the very beginning. He has Pin Down and Call of the Pack. As you can see, Pin Down will drop 2 spears on those white circles. You have to get out of the way. If you get pinned down, you're just wasting everyone's damage and healing and everything, and you'll probably end up dead if it's Mythic. And for Call of the Pack, he just brings out some pack beasts. You need a tank to pick them up, group them together, and then you just AoE them down. You want to clean up the spears while you can. Now, as you can see, at about 85%, he will jump onto his first mount. You want that to be the wolf. You just do that by bringing him closest to that mount when he reaches that percentage. The wolf's special ability is to leap around and do rend and tear. It will jump to anyone within 7 yards of his target. For this reason, you want to be completely spread out. You do not want this going to anyone except his target. He will leap back and it also hit the tank, so the melee need to disperse every time he does rend and tear. The tanks will be swapping at about 3 stacks of rend and tear. The other ability he has here is that he gets a little bit of a frenzy. You just want to use something like Trank Shot to remove it. Now, on normal and heroic, he will only dismount after his mount is dead. But on Mythic, he will dismount as soon as it hits 40%, and you will have to deal with both of them at the same time. But thankfully, he does not gain any special abilities until his mount is dead, even though he's already dismounted from it. Once his mount is dead, he will kneel down and gain one of its abilities. And what he gains from the wolf will be the rend and tear, so you have to spend the rest of the fight spread out. The wolf on Mythic will continue to jump around doing rend and tear until it is dead, and now he will be gaining that ability. As you can see, the Call of the Pack and the heavy spears continue throughout the entire fight. Although the pack beasts are not a large danger, they do slowly go up in damage over time the longer you leave them alive, so you want to kind of cleave them down as soon as you can. But obviously, if someone's pinned, just like this, you want to get the person out of the pin before you take down the pack beast. That's really the only thing that takes priority over the pack beasts. Now, at 65%, he's going to mount up on another mount. You want this to be Iron Crusher, the Elec. This one has 2 special abilities. One is Crush Armor, which you can taunt at 2 stacks. They're just reducing the armor of the tanks. Not a big deal. It's 10% per stack. He will also randomly charge, although I don't really count this too much as an ability. He will just randomly charge a player. He'll knock back all the melee right before he charges, which is a little bit annoying. He also gains this main ability, Tantrum. It's a raid-wide, really heavy AoE damage. You will either want to rotate healing cooldowns or personal damage reductions during the Tantrum. Other than that, it's just deal with the charges. Someone's always going to be hit by the charge because it's targeted at a player. It's going to be really difficult if you try and teleport out of it. Maybe you can get out of it. Again, pinned down, moving out of it is your biggest priority. And now he dismounts at 40% again on Mythic, but he'll wait for the beast to be dead on normal and heroic. When he dismounts on Mythic, he will now use rend and tear while you're having to deal with Tantrum. So it will be a little bit more annoying, but again, just stay spread out and you'll be fine. Now, assuming that at this point you have killed the Elec or are about to kill it, as soon as it dies, he is going to kneel down and gain its Tantrum ability, the AoE raid-wide damage. Very heavy damage, you're gonna want some sort of cooldowns, I can't stress that enough. This is obviously a very simple fight because, again, just dodging the heavy spears and killing the Call of the Pack beasts. Once he's gained this ability, you again just stay spread out and use cooldowns for Tantrum. Nothing really changes. Now, for rend and tear, I find that on normal, if you get about 4, you can expect to die. On heroic, if you get 3, you can expect that you'll probably end up dead. And if you get 2 stacks of rend and tear on Mythic and are not a tank, you are either going to suck up a lot of healing from your healers that the raid could probably use during Tantrum, or you're just going to die. Now, at 45%, he's going to mount the 3rd and final beast in the room. This is the Lilac. Now, this beast has several abilities. First, it's going to apply a dot to the tank. That is their tank swapping mechanism. Once it gets too high, 5 to 10 is usually somewhere in there, then you're going to swap your tanks. It has Infernal Breath, which you have to dodge at all costs. Even if it's targeted on you, you can get out without taking a tick. Taking more than one tick is just too dangerous. You don't want to risk it. Now, you really want to clean up the spears on this, because the spears will constantly be shooting out fire as long as the Rylak is alive, and after it is dead, once he's gained its abilities, they will continue to shoot out little beams of fire that deal extra fire damage to the entire raid. And one last ability is Conflagrate. And Conflagrate goes on to 2 random players, 3 on Mythic, I believe. And this needs to be dispelled immediately by the healers. What it does is it does constant damage to the target, it disorients them, making them unable to attack, and it deals damage to anyone near them. Fairly significant damage, especially on Mythic. You need to dispel it immediately. Spread out your dispellers so that they can reach everyone in the raid. Now, there's one last little thing about the Infernal Breath. The Infernal Breath will leave spots on the ground that you do not want to be standing in. Also, when the pack beasts die, their corpses will be lit on fire, so they'll have to be moving the boss so that the melee don't have to stand in that and take a bunch extra damage. As you can see, there are little flare-like things coming out of these spears. That is the damage that you take, the fire damage that the raid takes while the spears are up. And he still has Tantrum, he still has Rend and Tear, so you still have to be using cooldowns and spreading out, and watching for pin down, and taking out the pack beasts. If it is normal or heroic, you want to use Lust as soon as he drops off of the Rylak. But if it's Mythic, you do not want to use it yet, because on Mythic, at 25%, he calls on one last mount. A hidden mount only for Mythic, Fault Line. Fault Line has several abilities, one being Cannonball Barrage. You have to dodge it. Just think, say, the Fire Pillars on Mythic Kargath. You just have to get out of these little circles that appear all over the ground. See, there they are. Move out of the way, or else you will take about 50 to 70,000 damage per. It won't kill you unless you stand in a bunch of them, but seriously help out your healers. He also does an AoE raid-wide slow, which is not fun to deal with, especially when those Cannonball Barrages are coming down. It's going to make it that much harder to get out. Now, for the tanking, it's supposed to be tanked by 2 tanks just standing in front of him. There's no tank swap. What it does is it splits the damage between the 2 tanks. But we have an overgeared Monk tank, and the Monk tank is able to solo tank it and just take the full double damage hits. Every so often, it will drop an Epicenter. Epicenters deal massive damage to anyone standing in them. What you need to do is have your melee disperse right before one drops, have the tank drag it away, and have your melee come back in. That will minimize all damage. Now, for this one, as you can see, it's below 40%, but he hasn't dismounted. He does not dismount Fault Line until Fault Line is dead. Once Fault Line is dead, he will gain plus 100% health, and he will also gain the Epicenter ability. You want to Hero or Lust or whatever it is right here as soon as he dismounts and just unload into him, because now it is just a race against the clock. As you can see, we're pretty much ignoring the pack beasts and letting Passive Cleave take them down, because we really need to single target him down and just take him out before we run out of space. He will continue to use Rend and Tear, Tantrum, and Superheated Shrapnel, which is pretty much just the same as Infernal Breath. Why the name changes, I don't know, and it still leaves those patches that you don't want to stand on. You can see all those little fire spots. If you stand in them, you'll take maybe 50,000 damage every second. And now you just want to keep dragging him straight up the middle. You wanted to put the first 4 epicenters in a little square, and then drag him straight up the middle. And if you run out of space, you can take him down the left or right, but this allows your raid more area to move in. Now, you're maybe saying, plus 100% health, what does that do? Well, he's got 100 million health or so on Mythic at the start. That means when he's getting on the Kodo, getting on, well, I guess it's an Ice Hoof, he's gonna have about 20 to 25 million health. He'll come off of it with 40 to 50 million health instead, just making this phase last a little bit longer. Again, dodge the Superheated Shrapnel, dodge the spears, kill the pack beasts, but mostly focus him down, and eventually he will die. There is nothing special to it. Just get used to spreading out and get used to having people stand in certain positions. Other than that, just don't get hit by the spears. Everyone will hate you if you get hit by the spears, and eventually he will die on whatever difficulty. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.